Alright, so I just finished watching episode 17, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Season 1, the Blue Shadow Virus. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Pretty sure that's what it's called. Let me check my notes. Yep, that's what it's called. Blue Shadow Virus, episode 17. Now, if you don't know, I'm doing a review of every single Clone Wars episode, starting with Season 1, going all the way to Season 7, along with every single Disney product. Star Wars media on Disney Plus. Well, I might get into the legend stuff. We'll see. Anyways, so this episode, I'm not gonna lie, this episode's kind of shit. This is, honestly, I might have to say it, this might be the worst Season 1 episode. It pains me to say, because Season 1 is just, it's almost timeless. Almost every single one of these episodes seems to be really good. But my problem with this episode isn't necessarily it does a lot of wrong, it just barely does things right, if that makes sense. Now, what I kind of mean by that is the doctor here, the German doctor, Dr. Nuvo Vendi, whatever his goddamn name is, Blue Man, here on the screen. I'm just gonna be honest, I think this is one of the weakest designs we've ever seen for a race in Star Wars. You know, I even prefer the race that is literally just humans, but they have like the fucking computer chips in the back of their head. I prefer those over this guy. And I think it kind of like he ages poorly, let me just say that. Now, when we look back at Season 1, like, we see Gungans, we see, even in this episode, we get a female Gungan. You don't really see that too often. You know, we've seen, like, the Greedo race. I don't remember what the race are, but they got, like, the galaxy in their eyes. Really cool race. You know, we've seen Kaminoans. We've seen everything like that. This Blue Doctor, Mr. Nuvo here, he's just, like, he's just blue. And it looks like they did MS Paint and they just, like, stretched a Kaminoan's face a little bit more, you know? Now, maybe he's always intended to look this way, but to me, just something about the design screams, like, not finished, you know? Like, at least with Nute Gunray, you have, like, a species to follow, and some are fat, some are, like, a little taller, some are a lot uglier. You know, at least it's, like, something to follow. With this guy, there's no other example of his race. At least I don't think so. I can't remember a time where we've seen one of these guys' races. Now, I don't even know what species he is. So a quick Google search would probably help me there, but I'm going to avoid it because I'm a professional. But yeah, in my opinion, I think he's just one of the worst villains we've seen in the Clone Wars. I wouldn't say Star Wars history, you know, because we have to, you know, we have to remember Disney owns the company now, but yeah, for me, this villain's just weak. Like, decent concept. He revived a virus, which is kind of an interesting idea, and he planned on making a waterborne or liquid form virus into a gas form virus so it could infect the air, which then in turn would also, like, he would just send it to planets and it would just, like, insta-kill them. And it does seem to be, like, one of those insta-kill viruses. But, yeah, just a really rough villain to get my head around. His eyes also make him look 9 times more goofy. His eyes literally look like they look like my thumbnails, you know? They don't look high quality, amazing effort, you know? Let me just say that. They kind of just seemed like, again, they just stretched out an image, and they're like, yeah, fuck it, that's good enough. But yeah, a little goofy looking eyes. Outside of the main villain, though, we got to see a brown-colored, I think they're commando droids? I could be wrong about that. They're the ones with, like, tactician droid. I think that's what their official name is. The guys who basically control all the droids in that area. And typically they're holding, like, the battle plans in their head and they can figure out shit on their own. We got to see a brown variant of them. That's kind of new, I guess. And then outside of that, as far as the new stuff goes, we've got a new ship that Padme was riding with Jar Jar when they were in hazmat suits. It was a kind of a very basic, like, it kind of looked like, what is it called? An AAT, the droid tanks. Kind of looked like one of those, but just airborne and a little longer at the top. Not a horrible design, a little basic, but outside of that, I mean, the only other thing I can think of that was new and that's actually good about this episode. Now, again, this episode's not horrible, but we got. Is it Pepe? Peep? I'm not even gonna bother pronouncing this fight. I have it written down. I'm not bothering pronouncing it. The female Gungan, the pink Gungan. I guess it was a cool character. Beat the shit out of this German doctor here. The Hazmat suit shit was kind of cool. I guess we had Anakin. Like, something I kind of like about watching these earlier episodes. I think a good... I've been seeing a lot of people talk about character development in terms of Anakin, and I've seen quite a fair bit of people, now that Clone Wars has been out for a couple years, or decades, a lot of people mention the fact that Anakin doesn't really have any character development in Clone Wars. I just strongly disagree. I think this episode kind of reinforces it. A lot of these previous episodes had, but, there's a lot more to talk about than just Anakin's story here, so I gotta, try to make a video here. But yeah, Anakin in this episode's very like quick to anger, or quick to like rush to like, let's try to get to the results here, let's try to end whatever the problem is, and he's very, very arrogant as well when he gets like this. A good contrast, because you get to see Obi-Wan patience Anakin, good contrast between the two. Anakin very much wants to find Padme. It's like, okay, where is she? We need to save her right now, like before anything is discovered. Where Obi-Wan's trying to think, and he's like, we gotta plan things out. We gotta, wait for backup. We gotta wait for Ahsoka. We gotta, he's waiting for a lot of things to do. And Obi-Wan's very much like, okay, when we get down there, the facility could blow up if like we're firing or whatever. And Anakin's like, yeah, but that could kill everyone. And Obi-Wan's, well, better to have a planet disease rather than a, galaxy disease. Which is, like, fair points, because that's kind of like... Obi-Wan's really good at, like, rehearsing what the Jedi are in the Clone Wars, or at least what they're supposed to be. They're very much like, we're all gonna die at some point, but if the sacrifice means something, then the death is warranted, pretty much. Save 1,000 lives... at the cost of one is very much what the Jedi believe in. Now, outside of the whole dynamic between Anakin and Obi-Wan, again, there's just not really much this episode does, Jar Jar, being the goat that he is, he figured out all the dark plans very early on, even from the very beginning. Accidentally destroying the tactician droids so they could get on topic. Of course, we know he did that on purpose, so everyone could read the room and, start using their thinking brain, and, rush to find that facility. And then, of course, near the end of the episode, he picked the correct room where the droid was hiding. He obviously knew the droid was there. He could sense it in the Force. We all know Darth Jar Jar. He's just one of the goats as far as the Sith go. So, he was able to quickly deduce which room he was in, and he even pointed Padme in the right direction and got the bomb away from him. And basically saved Padme. And, if Padme dies in this episode, Anakin's going off the rails, and Darth Jar Jar knows that. So, he took his time, abided his time, showed Padme where everything was, all the way from the beginning. But, yeah. Outside of that, I guess the other main highlight is we get the GOAT clone design. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about one of my favorite designs from when I was a kid. And I'm talking about Hey, where my bomb squad lovers at, alright? Yo, if you don't know, back when I was like 6 to 8 years old, this shit was the bomb, literally. Oh my god, I wish I had way more of these. Fuck. Oh, it was so good, man. They were so good. Oh, I know a lot of people don't like these clones designs. I know a lot of people don't like the bomb squad members. I love them. Just look at them, bro. Like, just tell me that's a bad design. You know what I mean? I just think paint job's cool. You can call him the Cheeto clone or whatever you want, but I prefer, Bomb Squad, because he's Giga Chad. We even got the commander. Need I say more? Alright, just one of the GOAT designs. But, yeah, that's one thing you can say, at least for every Clone Wars episode. They always have something unique, whether it's a clone design, whether it's a ship, whether it's a concept of battle that they haven't used before. You know, at the end of the day, this is filler. We all know these characters survive, so you can't really, like, we know Padme has to survive, we know Jar Jar has to survive, we know Anakin survives, Obi-Wan survives, we know Rex, if you watch the Clone Wars, survives. So this episode is very much like a, you watch it and you're like, oh, right, so they eventually beat the villain and there's no sacrifice, you know? Which is kind of the problem with a lot of these dated episodes, so I think I'll comfortably give this episode, man, it is probably worst of season 1. I haven't watched all of season 1 yet, because I'm trying to do, like, play-by-plays, so I'm kind of waiting till I finish an episode, do a review, then watch the next episode, because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. If I had to give this a rating, just being dead honest, 4 out of 5, I think I'm comfortable with, you know? It's just not that good, you know? It really is just not that good. For filler, and at the time, not too bad, because we didn't know if Rex survived, Bomb Squad members, you know, a female Gungan. But outside of that, it's like, oh, a virus, and then none of it gets out, and then really the only things that die in this entire episode are, like, Naboo fucking camels, or whatever they are, like, oh, okay, you know? I'm kind of thinking of, like, all the other episodes while I'm trying to break down a review here, but it's just like the before episodes, you know, we had Bly and we had some risk there, because I don't even fucking remember, a little bit of bias obviously, but I don't remember if Bly makes it to the end of the war, you know what I mean? So it's a potential, like, when you watch it and you haven't watched Clone Wars in a while, you're like, oh shit, does he survive this episode, you know? We had a new race that was pretty cool, being the monkeys, along with, you know, Newt Gunray's fat older brother, you know, the Roadhog variant, if you will, of Newt Gunray's, but, you know, stuff like that. Or you have Hidden Enemy, where you have, like, a betrayal with Slick and them trying to out his brothers, you know, and then you had, what are some other episodes? You have Plo Koon and the Wolf Squad being in outer space and being stranded and barely surviving. Like, you had a lot of really good, like, not gut-wrenching, because, again, this is, you know, back in the day, but a lot of moments where you're just like, oh shit, I don't know what's about to happen. Where this is kind of just like, oh yeah, nothing happens, you know? So that's kind of why I'm giving it a really low rating. And then on top of that, the main, like, I love villains in all shows. Villains are typically the main reason why I watch shows. But this villain, man, Mr. fucking, what's his name? Nuvo? He's just lame, you know? He's just a German doctor, you know? How many times have you watched a fucking, a German in a good guys versus bad guys scenario, and it's a German doctor, you know what I mean? So, personally, I just think this has probably been the episode that has aged the worst. Maybe not visually, but even visually, there's nothing, like, crazy going on. Like, at least with Bly Saga and, you know, the episode before this, like, the Winter Planet, we had some cool visuals to look at. This was kind of just a facility in Naboo, you know? And we see that all the time, you know? So, personally, I can't give it more than a 5 out of 10, but the more I think about it, lower it ranks. 4 out of 10. Now, if you put me in a fucking, what are they called? If you put me in a straitjacket and you force me to watch this, I would take this over watching any of the Disney films that I've seen so far. Maybe other than Rogue One. But, you know, I gotta get around to watching Solo and stuff like that, and then do a review of that. But, so far, this is probably the worst of the Clone Wars, just because of how well it's aged, or how bad it's aged, I should say. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Kind of stretched to this video a little longer than I wanted to, apologies. But yeah, this video is nothing to really go back and watch if you want to. I guess, like, the highlights are just the Bomb Squad members and Darth Jar Jar doing his thing. But with all that being said, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video, and as always, I hope you have a great day.